Well, good evening all, and a happy new year. Hope you all had a good Christmas and a good new year, and Santa Claus was good to you. I certainly had good fun. My first video of 2022. It is Tuesday the... goodness me, what is the date? Tuesday the 5th? Some point after the new year. It's Tuesday. And it's my first session this year. Really good conditions tonight. I've managed to time my first session to coincide with a nice settled evening after a relatively longish sort of period of blowy sort of south and westerly winds. So there's a little bit of colour in the water, which is always good. And it's flattened right off, and it's a really nice evening. It's cold, it's dropping down to probably 0 tonight, but it is January, what do we expect? Bit of a leisurely one tonight. All I've got is some longish, biggish flappers and some bar rigs. So I think I'm just going to chuck out some ray baits. What am I talking about? I am going to chuck out some ray baits. All I've got with me is sandhill and squid. Classic bit of terrible business planning. After the last video I did of Southbourne, catching all those rays on the sprat and squid, I didn't order enough sprat. And I sold my last 2 today, so I planned on bringing sprat with me again. My mate Malcolm came in and bought my last 2. You better catch on those, Malcolm, otherwise you're in big trouble. I am spratless tonight. But there we go. So, I have got some sandhill still left in my secret stash at home. So I've got sandhill and I've got squid. I'm going to do exactly the same as I did in the ray video. Bar rig, sandhill, strip of squid wrapped on. Put it out there, and I'm going to chuck the flapper. Even my flapper's got one hose on, so I've got these lovely little small sandhills, and I'll chuck that one out sort of 50-60 yards, and we shall see what we see. I want a bit of a different spot of Southbourne tonight. I haven't fished here for years, since I was a wee lad. I think last time I fished here I might have even been a teenager. That's how long ago it was. So that's what, nearly 10 years ago now. There's a little bit of beach called Honeycomb Chine. Well, actually, it's just down from Manor Zigzag. Manor Zigzag? Grove Zigzag. Grove Zigzag. I'll probably edit that in the caption bit. I probably got that wrong, haven't I? It's not far from a place called Honeycomb Chine, which is where we used to fish quite a lot, with a club called Bay SAC. If anybody remembers the Bay SAC. When I was a teenager, I was with them. A lovely bunch of old boys. I think one of the longest running clubs in the area. I don't even know if it's still going, sadly. If it is, hello guys. I hope you're doing well. So yeah, I haven't fished it for ages. I'm actually quite excited. I know it's the same beach. I normally fish 1.5 miles down that way, or even further along sort of Hengersbin, that sort of thing. But just a complete change of venue. It looks really nice, actually. Some very nice new shiny beach houses, which are all lit up quite posh. I might show you those in a video in a bit. And I'm right by Boscombe Pier. You probably can't see Boscombe Pier on the video because it is night time. But it's literally just a stone's throw over there. I've had to come, a few bays to the west. Nope, say that again. A few bays to the east. Never eat shredded wheat, got it. Never, a few bays to the east because you can't fish in front of the surf reef. That bay where the surf reef is, don't fish on that one. Come this way a little bit more. But yeah, we shall see how it goes. Right, for those of you who didn't watch my last video, let's just run through my baiting up again. So last time, the main thing was I was showing you how to use sprats as bait, and all I did was cut my sprat lengthways in half, so we ended up with 2 kind of sandhill shaped baits. I haven't got sprat tonight, but I've got sandhill. Same as the sprat actually, chop through the head, chop through the tail, get rid of the wispy little bits, like so. Chop a strip of squid, like so, about same length. 2 ways you can do this. You can either lay the sandhill alongside the tool, or if your sandhill's defrosted, well, you can thread it out like a worm. It doesn't really make a difference. We're going to use tons of bait elastic in a minute. So again, bait tool, strip of squid, Baitex elastic, Oh, whippity-doo-dah, oh, whippity-doo. It does help to sing when you're fishing. I find it attracts the fish. All the way up, like so, and then sort of a 45-degree angle. I don't know why I do that. Probably doesn't make a difference. All the way back down. When you're whipping up the bait, make sure there's no sort of flaps of bait, bit of squid or anything stuck out at an angle, like so, because that'll catch the wind as you're casting. It can cause things to spin up. There we go. That's a simple sandeel and squid wrap. It's quite a large sandeel actually. Again, always use a circle hook for the top hook of my pennel, and I just hook that in. I had a good conversation with the guy actually in the shop the other day about how I fix my top hooks on my pennel. You know, we've tried tubing, I've tried tying it like a sort of a knotless knot, I've tried, you know, whipping it around, all sorts of things. And then a couple of years ago I just started thinking, I wonder what happens if I just don't do anything and just hook it into the top of the bait. And lo and behold, it didn't change the hook up rates one iota, so I now rather lazily don't bother tying that up. I would say if you're using that pennel to actually hold your bait, if it's a bait that's likely to fall down and sag down, that sort of thing, obviously then you're going to want to fix it in place. But for things like sand eels and sprat and squid and things like that, which is a relatively solid and compact bait, that ain't going nowhere. Drop my towel, there's my towel, there's my towel. There we go. So, my usual favourite, bar rig. We're just going to clip that up like so, chuck it out there, hope for the best. Right, first rod out there, that one I put out at distance, so what's the time? It's probably out there about 20 past 7. I don't want to give it too long because of that sort of blow we've had. I suspect it may have pushed a few fish in, a few pouting, a few whiting, maybe a dog, that sort of thing. So on that first cast, so let me see, 20 past 7, I'm going to go to 1:45 maybe, that's plenty long enough, and then I'll check it. In the meantime, I'm going to get my second rod ready. I'm just going to fish a simple 3-hit flapper. So I've got 3-foot snoods here, still quite long snoods. I'm still going to fish a grip lead because I am still fishing for rays. I don't particularly like fishing plain leads too much for rays. I find you get a better hook-up ratio on grip leads, because again, using grip leads isn't all about fighting tide. Sometimes you're using grip leads to set a hook. As in this situation. So as that fish moves away with the bait, the grip lead's going to grip in and it's going to set the hook. So these lovely little sandals, just going to hook one straight on as if it were a bit of worm. Like so. I'm not going to do anything else. Do you know what, that's a pretty terrible bait presentation. Never mind, we'll go there. Always good for camera. And then I'm going to do a strip of squid on one of the others. Real simple rustic stuff this, because I'm not worried about casting it far or anything like that. I'm not worried about whipping up too much. And I'm going to whack another one of these little sandals on the bottom, I think. So we've got sandal, squid sandal on a 3-hit flapper. Hopefully there's not too many whiting around tonight. Not that it's not nice to catch, but it's always nice to catch any fish. But I haven't got a lot of bait with me. So if there's lots and lots of whiting around, it could be a rather short session. But there we go. Again, that was definite presentation for the cameras open. Yeah, real simple. Chuck it out. About 50-ish yards. Sort of one of those leisurely overhead lobs. And see what's out there. Here's a little thing you may or may not have picked up on. Whenever I'm fishing like this, I'm always fishing with my rods sideways, so sort of parallel to the sea, not sort of facing straight out to sea. There's a few reasons why I'm doing this. There's a little westerly wind today, so I'm facing away from the wind. I don't want to be facing into the wind, especially not at this time of year. It's cold. But the main reason, I think, is when I'm facing this way, I've got my headlight on now and it's shining along the beach. I'm not shining my headlight into the water too much. I know as I go down, sort of cast and reel in, there's a few seconds there where the headlight will be on the water, but the majority of the time I'm on the beach here, the headlight's not on the water. Now, I appreciate that makes no difference whatsoever when you're fishing further out, but should I be doing a bit of bassing or something like that, you can be sort of rather spooky fish. There's no light on the water to scare them off. I'm also fishing with my rod tips very low. Hopefully you can see that. It's very flat sea, very calm tonight. So there's no big waves to get up and over. If it's really rough or there's weed in the edge, that sort of thing, then I'll put my tips as high as I possibly can to get out of the weed and waves. But on a night like tonight, make the most of the fact that it's calm, there's no weed around. Rod tips as low as you can, so you can just stare at your rod tips without craning your neck back and getting a stiff neck. Silly little thing, I know, but it's just comfort on the beach. It all helps. There you go, that's one little tip on how I set up on the beach. Well, both rods are in the water now. I'm quite confident about tonight. The conditions are absolutely spot on. It's a good tide. It's nice and calm, but there's a bit of colour still in the water. We've had a good stir up. And we shall see. It was filled me with confidence even more when I left the shop earlier to come down fishing. And I see my mate Richard Widdowson from Paul Ray Guiding had a right hatful of fish off the pier today, which is however many metres that way, 300 metres that way. He had three turbot, I think. No, two turbot, three gurnards, two thornbacks, including one decent one. He had a really good session for January, middle of the day. So if I blank tonight, that'll be really embarrassing. No pressure at all. On the plus side, I have just found some leftover chocolates, Christmas chocolates, in my bucket. That was a right result. I thought I'd come down here without any chocolate. I've only eaten about 64 kilos of these over the last few weeks, so I could do with a few more. Hope you all had a good Christmas. And you're not as fat as I am now. I love Christmas. Right. It's 22 now. I said I was going to bring the first one in at 1:45, so it gives me a couple of minutes to explain why I'm going to do that. One of the bits of advice we give out in the shop most to new anglers or anglers who maybe been in it a little while but not catching many fish is to put more effort into your angling and to time your casts. Now, I strongly believe the more effort you put in, the more results you get. If I came down here, strapped on my sand and squid, and launched it out to sea and put it in my rest and left it for an hour, let's say an hour, I don't know, after 15 minutes, a whiting or a small pouting might have taken it that I've not seen the bite on, or crabs might have eaten my bait, or anything could have happened. So I've been fishing for another 45 minutes with no bait or a small fish on. That's a complete waste of time. I'm down here to catch fish. Also, it gives you the opportunity to get your rig in, get fresh bait on, get it back out there, fresh scent all the time. So one thing I would say is time your casts. Now, if I was on worm baits down here, scratching around for place and sole and bibs and drabs and bits and bobs and all sorts of everything, usually work on about 15 minutes a cast. If after those 15 minutes I've reeled in, I've got 3 fish on, bonus, I might drop it down to 10 minutes. I might not. Not often you get 3 every cast, is it? But if I've reeled in after 15 minutes and there's absolutely no fish, all the bait's still there, perfect, I might just eke it out to 20 minutes. I very, very rarely fish longer than 20 minutes of worm there. With my ray baits and things like that, I usually start at around sort of half an hour, 25 to half an hour, and see where we go. If I bring it in a minute and the bait's absolutely immaculate, and I'm happy that it's still fishing well, the scent's right, all that sort of thing, then I might even sneak it out to sort of 40 minutes. Oh, I've got a bite. Well, that was exciting. Hang on. Bear with me. I hope you're picking this up on camera. This is the closer in rod, so the 3/8 flapper I put out there, a couple of sandals, and one with a strip of squid on. It's giving a really good sort of positive pull downs. Hopefully we picked it up on the tripod cam there. It's not been out there, sort of maybe 10 minutes. Well, to reel it in. Right. There's a little bit of weight on there. Nice to get a fish so early in a session when you come to not a new venue, but to a stretch of the beach that I haven't fished for so long. Come on, guesses in the comments. What do you reckon? It's a... You probably can't see it on camera, but it just popped up on the surface, which means it's a little brother ray. Never disappointed to catch a ray, even if it's a small one. Oh, so it's a double shot. Okay. Well, there we have a little Barbara ray and a right chunky whiting. Now for a Southbourne, that was a big old whiting. What a start to the session. Good start to the session. 10-15 minutes or so in on the close range rod, and a couple of nice pull downs resulted in this lovely chunky whiting. I mean, you know, quite often the whiting we get around here are mangy horrible things. This one is 36 on the stick, but it's fat. There's a lot of meat on that. So that's going to be dinner. Really tasty fish whiting. And the other one on the same rig was, if I can pick it up, one of those little baby smallite. They are just the cutest little things. Now, there's nowhere in a million years that's going anywhere other than straight back in the sea. So without delay, it's been in a bucket of water. It's not been on the beach. Bucket of water. Happy as Larry. Let's get it back. So far so good. Well, I've thrown my timings out completely now. So my long range rod is still out there. And now it's overdue. And we're trying to lose on that. That's only 10 minutes because obviously I rebaited that flapper, chucked it back out. So I haven't seen anything on the distance rod. Not been paying huge amounts of attention to it, but I don't think there's anything on there. We'll bring it in, we'll check the bait, we'll get fresh bait out there, chuck it out again, we'll go again. Well, that proves my point exactly. So that rig was out there for 45 minutes? Can't remember what it cost, I don't know. 10-15 minutes longer than I was planning. Although I didn't see a bite. That, which interestingly is half a dogfish. When it glows up it'll be a dogfish. But although I wasn't paying full attention to the rod, I may well have been a little bite, I don't know, but I didn't know it was on there. So I could have been fishing for the last half an hour with that on. Could have been wasting my time. I could have brought it in, unhooked it, put another fresh bait out there and caught a ray in that time. But there we go, point proved. But another fish. 3 species in my first 2 casts. The attempt to sound not too posh, one must not complain. Interesting fact, I'm not actually as posh as I sound. Everyone takes a mickey out of my posh voice. Really don't come from a posh background. I don't know where I got it from. There we go, la-di-da. Here's a little tip. If you like eating fish, which I do, and you like, well, if you like, I like fish like pouting and whiting quite a lot. Pouting especially has a really bad reputation of being a disgusting fish to eat. It's not. It's a really nice white, flaky fleshed fish, much like cod and whiting, things like that. The reason why it's got such a bad reputation is if you leave the guts in it, let's say you catch a fish, nice big huge chunky pout, you take it home, you whack it in a bucket or a bag, whatever, stick it in the fridge overnight, and you wake up in the morning, it smells like cat's wee quite a lot. Not a very pleasant smell. Gut your fish. If you're going to eat fish, gut your fish on the beach as soon as you catch them. Clean them out in the sea, chuck them in a bucket of salt water. That'll clean it all out beautifully. And honestly, even that pouting that you thought was horrible will be delicious. Little pull down on the distance rod again then. Just caught it whilst I'm getting another rig out to bait up. See if it goes again. Now, harken back to what I was saying on the... oh, there we go. Oh. Oh. But bear in mind that's quite a long way out. I'm going to bring that in. I'm going to suggest that's a sizable way this time. Right, just wind down the slack and lift in. Yes, that's a better fish. Obviously, unfortunately, at night time, you can't see the bend in the rod, so I'm just going to have to take my word for the fact that the rod is bent over nicely. Fish is stripping line. Oh, no, it's not really. It's definitely a bigger fish than that wee tiny dog I had. Nice nod and a pull down. When you're reeling in a fish, if you feel it suddenly pull back, just stop winding. Let the stretch in the mono and the bend in the rod just sort of cushion that pull of the fish. If you keep trying to crank against it all the time, that's when you sort of drop the fish. So like that, just did a little nod down. Just kiting up to the left a little bit. Which is down tide, so I've got a rising tide, a really good tide as well. So on Southbourne Beach, as I'm looking out to sea, that means the tide will be going right to left. So I'd expect my fish, especially rays, they always use tide to their advantage, to be going right to left. So again, the closer it comes in, as it comes into the edge, it usually starts to do a little bit more in terms of the fight. It's going to be a pouting after all this, isn't it? It'll be embarrassing. Try to get the habit of trying to lift your fish straight out of the water as well. So beach them. Ride it in on a wave, if there is a wave. There's not a lot of waves in there. So rod nice and low. And out she comes. There she is. Not a bad wee fish. There we go. Look at that. What do I always bang on about? That circle hook on the top of my panels. There's the main hook, look. Somewhere in there. That's a nice fish. Happy with that. Well, second cast on the distance rod. After my micro dog on the first one. This one wasn't out there very long at all. A much nicer small-eyed ray. That's going to do that really annoying wing wrap thing. Why do they do that? You guys have to take my word. Somewhere underneath that is a small-eyed ray. Oh, it's bit my thumb. Handle it like a professional, Tom. You're on camera. It's a male. These things are, I think they're called claspers, but I like to call them gonads. There you go. That's its gonads. That's how you can tell a male from a female. Sorry, mate. Just touching your balls. I'll edit this bit out in the film, otherwise I'll have to X-rate it. it's not going to unfold its wings. Nice small-eyed ray, I'd guess £4, maybe £5 actually. Stick it back in my bucket of water quickly. I've got scales because I'm so bad at guessing fish weights. Fishing all my life. Work in the trade, do matches, weigh lots of fish. Still not got a clue. So what did I say? Between 4 and 5. You watch, it'll be £2.6. Oh no, it's not 5 ounces. Let's try that again. Oh, 5.14. I wasn't too far off actually. I'm going to get absolutely crucified for weighing that fish by sticking the hook in its mouth. Really don't do that on measure and release fish. That was bad fish handling. So £5.14, there you go. Let's get it back quick. Well, whilst I was messing around with that last ray, another chunky whiting on the closer in rod. And just to really labour a point, I apologise for labouring a point, my other 2 hooks were bare, stripped bare. So, no bait, and a whiting. I should have had that rig in a lot sooner than I had, but obviously the ray on the other rod took precedence, or priority, sorry. But there we go. That's another nice chunky whiting on the stick. Minimum size for whiting is 27. This one's 33, nearly 34. So that's about the sort of size I normally keep for dinner. A 27, 28 centimetre whiting, generally speaking, a pretty skinny, scrawny thing. So although it's sort of legal fish size, oh, I've got a great big drop back. What am I right again? Great big drop back rod on a what? I don't know what I just said. I've got a big bite on my rod. It's GoPro malarkey, it's hard work. YouTube malarkey, can't even get that bit right. I better go and reel this ray in. I did just do a cracking pull down again. My other one's not even out in there, I just reeled in that whiting. It's a bit of a fisher bung session so far. And my teeth don't seem to be working. Come on, go into the camera. It always happens, it goes. Big pull down, so I'll get the camera up nice and close, hopefully for you guys to see the bite, because that's always exciting. And it's now going to sit there and do nothing. If I sing to it, that normally helps, doesn't it? Yeah, fishy, 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 fishy. No. Well, hopefully we picked up on the other camera, if that's still running. If not, you guys are going to have to take my word for it. There was a bite, I promise. Right. Let's see what we got. And we're going to have fish number 3 on cast number 3. Yes. Well, this is a strange fight. I'm not convinced it's that big. I'm actually mildly convinced it's tail wrapped and it's coming in backwards. All this mid-fight commentary only leads me to be embarrassed when it comes out and it's a 8-ounce sawlow. There's a small fish coming in backwards. That is so annoying and so embarrassing. Well, Oh, it's a thorny. Thorny. There you go. That is a species we are seeing more and more of down here, all along Poole Bay. Been about 10 years, never used to get these. Ever so pleased to see him. What a session this is turning into. Third cast, third fish on the distance one, and a thorny. Thornback ray. Hopefully you can see some of these. Why they call these thornback ray. A lot of people think that every ray they want, a lot of beginners, sorry, think that every ray they catch is a thornback because they all have sort of spines and stuff down them. These things are beyond spiky, all over its wings, all over its head. They are vicious things. Wouldn't want to tread on one of those because they're razor sharp. They're like sort of bramble or rose thorns. Also much more sort of darker coloration, mottled sort of dark coloration there compared to things like the small eyes. Lovely fish. Once again, caught on the bar Riggett range. On the top circle. Have to take my word for that because I dropped it. Making it really easy to unhook. Only a little one, just about sizeable. Couple of pound, whatever they go, but thorny. Awesome. Going to be honest now, I'm a little bit excited. Probably the best capture of the night so far was actually with that thorny. A bit of my Christmas tree had come back to see me. I'm so excited. Chucked it away the other day. Very sad, it's at the end of Christmas, but now it's not. He's back! Rocking around the Christmas tree. Have a happy holiday. I'm going to stick him up there. Look at that. All we need now is some baubles and tinsel and we're back in Christmas. The biggest bite ever, that one. Again, it is on the distance rod, but be a whiting perhaps, with a little dog. Much as I'd love it to be another ray, I don't think it is. Yeah, a little bit too jerky. Well, I'll let it think about its actions for a couple of minutes whilst I get my other rig ready, and then I'll bring it in and see what it is. Well, bonus little fish. I've just had a 45-minute period of being pestered with whiting, not the nice big whiting I was catching, the little pesty ones. It's just gone 10, so nearing 3 hours into my session. Might call it a day in a little bit, not got a huge amount of bait left. Possibly the old famous one last cast, but nice little bonus fish. Mr. Turbot. Absolutely love these things. So for goodness sake, if I probably unhook it first, my out. Hang on. There you go. Not the biggest turbot ever. In fact, it's going to go back. I wish it was bigger, because they're the tastiest thing in the world. They really are. So that's a turbot. Very, very round. If you're unfamiliar with a turbot, they're a very round profiled fish. Unlike the sort of diamond sort of shaped with things like flounders, things like that. They're really round like a saucer. They've also got, I don't know if you can pick it up on the camera, these nodules all over the back. Little lumpy bumps all over the back. And an enormous mouth. Look at that. Even with a little one like that, gobble down my whole sounding one squid on a tour. Nice little bonus fish. It's been a nice evening tonight. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It is really cold. I must admit, it's pushing on towards zero, but the lack of wind and the old shelter and the activity means I haven't got too cold myself, which is always nice. So, yeah, like I said, small whiting become a bit of a pest now. I've had a really good session. Enjoyed the rays earlier, enjoyed the big whiting earlier. Bonus turbot. I'm going to do one last cast and see how we get on. If I don't catch anything, I hope you enjoy the video. And I'll see you on the next one, hopefully. Thank you.